liberty, and justice for all.
Please stand for a moment of contemplative silence for our great country, its citizens, and those serving it around the world. Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Majority Leader Borgia.
Here.
Minority Leader Testa. Here. Mr. Boykin.
Here.
Mr. Gelfarb.
Here.
Mr. Harcum.
Here.
Mr. Jenkins. Here. Mr. Mazzano. Here. Ms. Marcotte. Ms. Parker. Ms. Perez.
Here.
Ms. Shimsky.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Ms. Spreckman. Here. Ms. Williams. Here. Mr. Williams.
Here.
Mr. Chairman.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Excellent. Call for a motion on the consent agenda. Madam Majority Leader.
Sure. I'm going to move the consent agenda with the following changes. On page number 3, item number 7346, delete the Committee on Labor, Parks, Planning, and Housing and replace it with the committees on Infrastructure and Environment and Energy. Number 5 on that page, item 7351, same thing, delete Labor, Parks, Planning, and Housing and replace with Infrastructure and E&E. The next item on the agenda, 7353, add the Committee on Law. The following page, number 9, item 7311, add the Committee on Law. The next item, number 10, 7336, add the Committee on Law. The first item of the county attorneys, item 7378 on page 4, continuing on page 5, add the Committee on Environment and Energy. I did, I'm sorry, which? I'm sorry. Oh, no, I'm not up to that yet. The next, page 5, number 4, the one Legislator Tester is talking about, and the communications, add Legislators Testa and Marcotte. Item number 5 on the following page, ID number 7358, add Legislators Shimsky, L. Williams, A. Williams, Virginia Perez, Legislator Perez, Legislator Kaplowitz, Legislator Jenkins, Legislator Parker, Legislator Boykin, and myself, Legislator Borgia. Also on that page, number 8, 7362, add the Committee on Community Services. On page number 7, we're going to add the Committee on Parks, Labor, Housing, and Planning. I'm sorry, item number 7368, number 14 on page number 7. On the next item, number 15 on that page, 7369, add the Committee on Law. Number 16 on the following page 8, 7370, add the Committee on Law. The next item, 7371, add the Infrastructure Committee. Item number 21 on page 8, 7379, add Legislators Testa, Burrow, Spreckman, Marcotte, and Gelfarb. Did I get everybody? Oh, and Mazzano. Excuse me. On... And I believe that, oh, no, on page number 17, number 32, there's a mistake. This item never went to the Committee on Capital Projects, so please delete that. And did I miss anything? I'm sorry, you have to tell me where it is, what page. Okay, 7. And we would like to sever and over on page number 4, numbers 7 and 8, ID number 7380 and 7381. And that is it.
Okay, Mr. Testa.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we concur with everything with the following addition. On page 7, item number 7368, sever and over that, please.
That was number 14.
Number 14.
It's over and over, okay. Otherwise, you're concur? Mr. Mazzano? Yes. Okay, so no objections, the consent agenda moved with the aforementioned changes. At this point, minutes approval? Later?
To move that we approve the minutes of the Monday, July 14th, 7 p.m. meeting.
Mr.
Second.
Testa? Okay, without objection, so ordered. And at this point, the clerk will please read the rules for public comment in our publicly heard session.
Each speaker shall be limited to 3 minutes. I'll call the names of the speakers and ask that you please come down the aisle to my left and wait behind the black ropes. Susanna Glidden, Susan McDonald, Paula Clare, Elizabeth Radow, Susan Van Dolson. The first speaker is Susanna Glidden.
Thank you. Good morning, all. Thank you, dear legislators. We are really very grateful to you for your very hard work to keep our health and safety of all Westchester residents protected, and for being responsive in such a proactive way to these needs by advancing the Spectra resolution. We count on each of you to not only pass this protective resolution, but also please to strenuously advocate and successfully achieve its measures before any involved agency permits are issued on this ill-conceived and to many of us unacceptably dangerous Algonquin natural gas pipeline and compressor station expansion project. Citing this proposed enormous high-pressure pipeline within 1,500 feet of Indian Point Nuclear Facility and its 40 years of spent fuel rods, intersecting underground in the immediate vicinity with 2 proposed megawatt electric lines that could throw a spark, melt a pipeline, and cause an explosion, and all in close proximity to not 1 but 2 earthquake fault lines, demands an independent, transparent, and comprehensive risk assessment before involved agency permits are issued. Also, to secure an independent, transparent, and comprehensive baseline air testing instead of testing conducted by Spectra, a New York State Environmental Quality Review, a SECRA, and an official health impact assessment to look at the full range of cumulative impacts of this project, which are otherwise not covered by FERC's Environmental Impact Statement, governed by NEPA, due out later this month, are imperative before any permit is issued. We look forward to continued collaboration with you on this critical issue that confronts all of us in Westchester and indeed in our entire area. We are so proud of our Westchester legislators for standing tall and working so hard to keep us protected. We are here to work with you to make sure these resolution measures take place before permits are issued. On behalf of all of the concerned Westchester residents who our various environmental and citizen activist groups represent, we thank you for representing us so very, very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan McDonald.
Good morning, and thank you very much for letting us be here. I come to talk about a similar situation with Spectra. I'm speaking on behalf of Jeanette Barth, who is a PhD economist who's worked with our group a lot. She's lectured and written and testified extensively on the impacts of the shale gas development. And she has a long list of credentials, which I'm not going to read all of them to you. She wrote you a letter, and I'm sure that her credentials are in there as well. It has come to my attention, these are her words, it has come to my attention that Spectra Energy Partners stated that the AIM project would create local jobs. Also, I understand that Spectra, with the promise of jobs, has encouraged labor union members to support the AIM project. As an independent economist, I feel it's important to counter economic falsehoods that are spread by the oil and gas industry. The fact is that communities near AIM may experience significant related costs ranging from negative health impacts and infrastructure damage to substantial declines in property values. As pointed out in Spectra's Energy Partners 10K submitted to the SEC last year, a natural gas pipeline is inherently risky. I have been pointing out for years that the shale gas industry greatly exaggerates job creation. An early industry-funded study showed that they often quoted toward the beginning of the shale gas development in Pennsylvania claimed that 88,000 jobs would be created in Pennsylvania in 2010 due solely to shale gas development. The reality is that only 65,000 jobs were created statewide in all industries in Pennsylvania in 2010, and half of those were in education, health, and leisure and hospitality. The governor of Pennsylvania, based on industry claims, stated that 200,000 jobs have been created in his state due to shale gas development. The Keystone Research Center, not an industry-funded group, found that less than 6,000 net new jobs were created in 3 years in Pennsylvania in Marcellus core and ancillary industries. Please be skeptical regarding job creation and other economic claims made by Spectra Energy. If any jobs are created, they will be during the construction phase, and such jobs are not sustainable. The gas and oil industry is known for a transient workforce, so it is unlikely that even the few short-term construction jobs will go to local residents. Obviously, Spectra Energy is motivated to make a more grandiose job creation and economic impact claims in order to encourage the county to approve a project. At a minimum, you should ask Spectra to provide detailed analysis to back up their job creation claims, the types of jobs, how many, and what the salary will be. I have no financial interest in any form of energy or its infrastructure. I have a moral obligation to inform you, our legislative leaders, that while making important decisions affecting constituents, you may be relying on inaccurate and biased economic information provided by the oil and gas industry, and in particular by Spectra Energy Partners. Dr. Barth would be very happy to talk with any of you at another time, and you all have a letter from her so you know how to reach her. Thank you.
Paula
Thank you.
Claire.
Hi, I'm Paula Claire, and I live in the vicinity of Cortlandt Manor, an area that is directly affected by Spectra Energy's Algonquin pipeline expansion. I have many concerns about this project, but I have two major ones. The first is the fact that a huge high-pressure 42-inch diameter pipeline is to be built 1,500 feet from Indian Point. I think that any reasonable person would say 1,500 feet is not a safe distance between a high-pressure gas pipeline and a nuclear facility. In fact, this is the only pipeline that, adjacent to a nuclear facility in the United States, the only gas pipeline. To add to the risk, Indian Point sits not on one, but on two earthquake faults, the Ramapo and the recently discovered Stamford Peekskill fault. It is not rare that these large transmission pipelines have explosions and fires. In 2013, there were 70 significant incidents in transmission pipelines in the U.S., reported by the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, which is part of the U.S. Department of Transportation. These significant incidents included explosions, fires, and other catastrophe. An explosion or fire 1,500 feet from Indian Point could be an unimaginable catastrophe affecting the entire region as well as New York City. You might hear the gas company say that the probability of an incident is low, but risk is a combination of probability and consequence. And since the consequences are so cataclysmic, the risk is high. This opinion is shared by Erwin Redliner, MD, Director of National Center for Disaster Preparedness, Earth Institute, who said in his comments to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, I am very concerned about the proposed plan to expand the Algonquin pipeline without a thorough review of the environmental impact and potential public health risks that might be posed by this project. Of particular concern is the proximity of the project to a significant seismic zone and the Indian Point nuclear plant. This combination of factors presents a real risk of major disaster with profound long-term impact on the region. For this reason, and to guard the safety of all area residents as well as property in the region, this project cannot go forward without an independent risk assessment, not run by Spectra Energy or for Spectra Energy, but independent, focusing on its location next to Indian Point. In addition, to protect our children from any possible incidents, this project should not be routed next to any school. An elementary school is currently in the path of this pipeline's route. If this route remains, we have to ask ourselves the question, is industry profit more important than the health and safety of our children? My second concern is the air that we all breathe. Westchester County is already in a non-attainment zone for air quality. That means our air is not meeting national standards. The American Lung Association gave Westchester an F grade for air quality with regard to ground level ozone. Now Spectra Energy would like to be permitted to add 149 tons of volatile organic compounds into our air annually, 74 tons per year from Stony Point, and where this threshold is 25, an additional 25 tons per year, 75 tons per year from Southeast, where the threshold from EPA is 40. So Spectra is planning to emit volatile organic compounds that triple the EPA threshold in Stony Point and almost double the EPA threshold in Southeast.
Finish your thought. You could also submit, if you'd like, your written testimony.
Okay. I just want to make one more point, and that point is that Spectra Energy doesn't have an air permit yet from the state, and it's already emitting 4 toxic emissions at over the EPA threshold, and I've outlined it in this in my comments, and I'll submit it. And I also included the documents from Spectra Energy that substantiate these claims.
Very good. Thank you. Just give it to the
thank
clerk.
you.
Thank you so much.
Elizabeth Radow.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Radow. I live, practice law, and pay taxes in Westchester County. My published research on risk allocation and the financial impacts of property from unconventional gas drilling operations has been sourced and cited by the New York Times and other nationally recognized publications. The proposed Spectra Energy pipeline expansion through densely populated residential neighborhoods, speeding larger volumes of natural gas to market, introduces risks and impacts to property value which should not be ignored. The county resolution mentions Algonquin's prior safety record in New York, yet the Pipeline Safety Trust states that the development of large pipes increases risks to neighborhoods and businesses located near the pipes, and further that a past performance record cannot predict the outcomes associated with different future risks. This project would involve the unprecedented use of 42-inch high-pressure pipes, which will greatly expand the geographic area of impact and the magnitude of the impact. Aside from proximity to Indian Point and high-voltage electrical lines, operations can be expected to occur in the context of increasing numbers of natural force events such as crippling hurricanes and potentially fewer inspections from a redirected state budget, the making of a perfect financial storm. Does this pipeline have to be expanded? Who benefits and who becomes burdened? Here is an 8-inch diameter dish which reflects the size of the cast iron gas main that exploded in March 2014, leveled a Harlem apartment house, killed 8 and injured 48 people. While cast iron pipes present risks that plastic and steel pipes do not, pipeline diameter is a key consideration when evaluating risk. This 26-inch hoop reflects the size of the existing pipe. This 42-inch pipe reflects the size of the proposed expanded pipe. In the words of pipeline expert Rick Kuperwitz, 42-inch pipes command a lot of respect. Mr. Kuperwitz has also observed that emergency response mitigation measures fail as a strategy to compensate for poor siting of a pipeline. Accident prevention is the only acceptable solution. Spectra Energy Partners 2013 10-K filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission cites the hazards and risks inherent in operations such as leaks and explosions, among other things, risks that could result in significant injury, loss of life, significant damage to property, and environmental pollution, particularly significant near populated regions. Yet, Spectra confirms it is not fully insured against all of these risks and losses, and that should any of these risks materialize, it could have an adverse effect on their financial condition. This scenario exposes upcounty residents and their residential property investment to underinsured, unprecedented industry-generated risks, diminished property value, reluctant purchasers, and potentially reluctant lenders and home insurers once the underwriting guidelines catch up with the inherent risks. And potentially all county taxpayers could become the guarantors of this project's margin of error. Yet, Westchester residents, the most highly taxed Americans, cannot afford to financially shoulder any portion of Spectra Energy's risk management. You have been asked to greenlight this project in the name of commerce. First, please vote for this resolution and then go further to fully assess the potential financial effects of this proposed expansion on your constituents and your county. Our future depends upon you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan Van Dolson.
Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you very much for bringing this resolution to where it is today to be voted on. I'm a resident. My name is Susan Van Dolson, and I'm a resident of Harrison. As residents of Westchester County in 2014, we're fortunate to live in an area that offers many amenities, a diverse population, verdant parkland, access to water, job opportunities, proximity to the city, culture, sports, shopping, good medical care, and education. Generally a positive place to raise a family. Along with the positives, we're aware that there are almost 1 million residents in this county living in a very densely populated region. When we learn of any new industrial proposals, residents and elected officials are keenly aware of the need to take a close look at all the impacts that could affect us. In the case of Spectra Energy's Algonquin Incremental Market natural gas expansion project, the company must comply with a federal review process. However, this review process looks at environmental impacts, but an evaluation of many other impacts is not required. The resolution before the county today raises the bar and requires that the legislature advocate for additional important assessments that are necessary to ensure health and safety. One thing that is not covered by the normal review process, but that should be, is an independent risk assessment examining the close proximity of the proposed 42-inch high-pressure gas pipeline to a 40-plus-year-old nuclear power plant located on 2 fault lines. Additionally, scientists have demonstrated that toxic emissions from gas infrastructure can cause serious health impacts, and the AIM project would increase these emissions. Baseline air monitoring and an independent cumulative health impact assessment are critical parts of the resolution that are not part of the typical environmental review. Pipelines leak and explode, and Spectra Energy admits in its own 2013 10-K that it may not have sufficient insurance to cover all risks and losses. Local impacts, such as road damage, emergency response, and property values, could affect the municipality's bottom line. The 42-inch diameter high-pressure pipeline expansion would run by or through schools, houses of worship, neighborhoods with precariously aging roads, parklands, wetlands, the New York City watershed, and the beautiful Hudson River that has been revived after years of neglect. Pipeline safety is regulated by the Department of Transportation's PHMSA, which stands for the Pipeline Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, which is underfunded and understaffed. The director himself said his agency is, quote, kind of dying. And a study by a nonprofit group called the Public Employees for Environmental Responsibility concluded that only 1/5 of the nation's 2.6 million miles of pipeline have been inspected since 2006. It's clear that the Westchester County Legislature should vote to pass the resolution today because the more stringent requirements would reflect the conditions that currently exist in our county in 2014. Thank you in advance to all the legislators who support this common sense due diligence resolution.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have no other cards.
We'll close the public comment portion of the meeting. Madam Majority Leader, we have 2 public hearings.
Yes. I move that we suspend the regular order of business for the purposes of conducting 2 public hearings.
Excellent. Madam Clerk.
Notice of today's public hearings was published in the Journal News. I have proof of publication, which is available for inspection in my office. Each speaker shall be limited to 3 minutes. The first public hearing is from the Committee on Budget and Appropriations on the proposed 2014-15 Westchester Community College budget. I have one card, Betsy Stern.
Well, as Ms. Stern comes forward, this is the annual obligation, but the annual pleasure, if you will, of the legislature to work with the fine Westchester Community College administration, faculty, staff, students, to continue to be supportive of and a partner in the educational opportunity that Westchester Community College offers. I want to note Dr. Flynn is here, the acting president, and his fine team. Welcome, sir, and thank you for your fine work. And David Swope, as chair of the Board of Legislators. You can have this job if you like. Chair of the Board of Trustees at the college. And to Betsy, thank you so much for joining us, but welcome to all in the Westchester Community College community. Please.
Thank you. Betsy Stern, Vice Chair of the Trustees at Westchester Community College. I've got 4 quick points to make. One, I thank all of you for understanding the value of your college to your county. And thank you for coming to campus, those of you who have come and those of you who haven't. We know you have good reasons for not coming, and invite you to come, all of you, to come again this year. 2, some quick facts on the population at the college. Do you know that in round figures there are over 13,000 full-time credit students at the college? That's a great big school. Far and away the largest one in Westchester County. If you take into account those people who are taking credit courses but not full-time, people who are maybe taking 1, 2, 3 courses and having jobs on the outside, and those people who are not taking any credit courses but just enriching their own lives, that there are over 33,000 Westchester residents, and maybe we let in a few people who don't live in Westchester as well. But for the most part, it's 33,000 people taking courses at Westchester Community College. That's fairly amazing. 3, the presidential search, as our leader has said, and you know, Dr. Joseph Hankin did a magnificent job. He was at the college for 42 years. We are lucky to have had him and to have Dr. John Flynn, who is sitting back there with his head bowed, hoping I wouldn't mention him. He is modest to an extreme and is doing an excellent job while we are looking for a new president. And everyone at the college has been involved in the presidential search, all kinds of meetings and inclusion, and we still have not come to a final decision, but we will, right, David? And 4, and most important, brownies. Anybody want to say something before I say? Those of you who don't know me, for how many years? 30? I don't know. There's been a lot of years I have been bringing brownies to this event. There are 2 possible scenarios, 2 possible plot lines as to why I do not have brownies here this morning. One is that, yes, I brought them, and while we were waiting, we ate them. 2, I would like you to take it as a symbol of just how careful we are with the resources that you give us. We do not waste any money ever at all at the college. We are very careful, and I don't know, $10 or so it would take to, that money has now gone into scholarships and on faculty enrichment and so forth. 3, I forgot. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have no other cards.
Madam Charlie?
I move that this public hearing be closed.
Objection, so ordered.
Second public hearing is from the Committees on Legislation and Economic Development and Capital Projects on the proposed amendment to the laws of Westchester County in relation to the factors to be considered by the Capital Projects Committee in evaluating the feasibility of proposed capital projects. Mr. Chairman, I have no cards.
Madam Leader? Ms. Borgia?
I move that this public hearing be closed as well.
Excellent. Before we get to unfinished business, I do also want to note the presence of a former chair and a former colleague of many of ours, William Ryan, who's here. Mr. Ryan, welcome, sir. always a pleasure to see you in the halls, and it's still a little unusual to see you in the back benches rather than the front benches. But as you've said to others, you have the full reign of the legislature, and we never quite were able to define what that meant. But welcome back, sir. Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, unfinished business.
First item under unfinished business, item 7221, was held over from the July 14, 2014 regular board meeting, appears here as an item of unfinished business for action from the Committees on Infrastructure, Environment and Energy, and Budget and Appropriations. A resolution setting a public hearing on the proposed modification to the Sawmill Valley Sanitary Sewer District by the removal of one parcel of property, 35 Hardscrabble Hill Road.
Ms. Markup. For purposes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess we're scheduled for September 8th?
Yes, sir. At 7:30. Excellent. And Ms. Shimsky, concur?
I concur.
And Ms. Parker?
I do too.
Seeing no objection, we will take, actually, let's do a long roll call, of course, our first one.
Ms. Borgia?
Yes.
Mr. Testa? Yes. Mr. Boykin? Yes. Mr. Burrows?
Yes.
Mr. Gelfarb?
Aye.
Mr. Harkam?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzano? Yes. Ms. Marcotte? Aye. Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Ms. Shimsky?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Spreckman? Yes. Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Aye.
Approved 17-0. Item 7269 was held over from the July 14, 2014 regular board meeting, appears here as an item of unfinished business for committee referral only. It's an act authorizing the designation and retention of private counsel pursuant to the laws of Westchester County relating to the lawsuit entitled the Westchester County Independence Party et al. Versus Robert Astorino et al.
Just a committee referral itself. Why don't we take a long roll call on this?
Ms. Borgia,
I'm sorry. I lost.
for the item to be referred to the Committee
yes.
on Law and Budget and Appropriations. Mr. Testa? Yes. Mr. Boykin?
Yes.
Mr. Burrows? Yes. Mr. Gelfarb?
Aye.
Mr. Harkam?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzano? Yes. Ms. Marcotte? Aye. Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Ms. Shimsky?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Spreckman? Yes. Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Aye.
By vote 17-0, the item is referred to the Committees on Law and Budget and Appropriations. Takes us to standing committees. Item 7332 from the Committee on Budget and Appropriations is an act adopting the Westchester Community College 2014-2015 budget and making appropriations for the operation of the Westchester Community College.
Ms. Markup.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I will. Happy to move this for the Budget and Appropriations Committee. We had a lengthy discussion with regard to the budget, and for a second year in a row, the Westchester Community College is not increasing tuition. Additionally, it is balancing the needs of the taxpayers along with departmental needs with regard to the support that, as a county, we give the college each year. Additionally, the capital budget includes $1.2 million for 3 projects, 2 of which are technology-related, and a third project which will fund planning assessments and infrastructure needs. So again, we congratulate the college on what seems to be a very financially responsible budget. We look forward to their continued success, and for the Budget Committee, I'm happy to move it and urge that my colleagues do the same. Thank you.
Excellent. Legislators. We always have the encomiums flowing and the positive comments. Well, on behalf of the full legislature, I want to once again certainly thank the committee. Mr. Williams, sir, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to stand to express my support for the budget. I want to commend the college for continuing to provide a quality education, affordable education for students who actually are trying to keep on a career path as well as to continue their education. I believe that the commitment to keeping tuition affordable with no increases this year and last year is very, very, very great for the county residents so that this college continues to be affordable. With respect to the satellite units, I really appreciate that the college continues to really be visionary in seeing forward and developing the infrastructure of these satellite units in terms of capital investments as well as quality programs. I believe that you're seeing the dividends from those investments in form of many of these satellite units are able to be self-sustainable, where they're not causing a deficit. They're not operating at a deficit in deficit situations. But overall, I think the college is doing a fantastic job, and I want to commend them on the great work that they've done. Thank you.
Excellent. Other legislators, Mr. Maizano.
I'd like to rise as one of the legislators, I don't know if there's others, but one who attended Westchester Community College for 1 year, and I just figured out it was 1982-83 year, a long time ago, but I did attend Westchester Community College, and I always tell people this, that going both to undergraduate and law school, the best professors I ever had were at Westchester Community College. Terrific faculty, terrific staff, great board of trustees. As county legislators, should be greatly proud that Westchester County is one of the finest community colleges in the country. And with that, this is an excellent budget, and I will be voting for it. Thank you.
Excellent. Mr. Testa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, as a former member of the board for 14 years of the college, I feel compelled to speak on behalf of and support of this budget. Also, as a former teacher at Peekskill High School, many of my students went there. Actually, my daughter went there for a couple years. An excellent school, a district that has the first and model satellite campus from the college from 20 years ago now, and the district that one of the highest enrollments is from District 1. So I feel very compelled to support the college's budget. Again, with sticking to the mission of the college, low cost, high quality education, again, with no increase to the tuition. Kudos to the board. I know how hard they work. I know how hard President Henkin worked over the years, and now the new staff that is there working, Dr. Flynn and others who are there. But I would have liked to have the brownies today, only based on the fact that the way things are going today, that probably would have been lunch. So, congratulations.
Excellent. Any other colleagues? I just want to also put on the record through Ms. Marcotte's committee discussion was the continuation of, and actually the fulfillment of, a 10-year promise to working with the fine faculty as well at the college to continue to add 2 full-time faculty members and to, while recognizing the excellence of the adjuncts, try to take a little bit of pressure off the adjunct side. And that's certainly a policy that this legislature is open to continue, but we'll begin to discuss next year. Beyond, as a legislator for District 4, specifically and generally as chair of the board, in 18 years, along with Mr. Maizano and Ms. Spreckman, the 3 of us who've been here the longest, the college continues to stand for excellence in everything that it does. And we get to affirm its financial excellence, its planning excellence, its budgeting excellence in the August period. This is now the time. And thank you for continuing to discharge your duty well and to financially look after the monies that the county, not insignificantly to the tune of about $29 million, does contribute as sponsor contribution, as an investment from the taxpayers of Westchester to the college. And so we thank you for that, and it's been in good hands and will continue to be under the interim and the permanent leadership that you will undoubtedly come up with. So as a legislator, I too sit here very proudly in support of the college budget. At this point, Madam Chair, let's do a long roll call, even though we are all on the record previously, but give us a chance to individually affirm our support for Westchester Community College.
Ms. Borgia?
Yes.
Mr. Testa?
Yes.
Mr. Boykin?
Yes.
Mr. Burrows? Yes. Mr. Gelfarb?
Aye.
Mr. Harkam?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Maizano? Yes. Ms. Marcotte?
Aye.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Ms. Shimsky?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Spreckman? Yes. Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Aye.
Approved 17-0.
Excellent. Madam Clerk, we're going to take, first of all, congratulations to those. We're going to take out of order next number 33 in our agenda, item number 7153, in the interest of our guests that are here today.
From the Committees on Environment and Energy and Infrastructure, a resolution to ensure public safety and health regarding Spectra Energy's Algonquin Incremental Market Natural Gas Pipeline Compressor and Metering Stations Expansion Project.
Ms. Parker.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. As Westchester County legislators, we are charged with the responsibility of, let's see. Sorry, let's try that again. As Westchester County legislators, we are charged with the responsibility of doing all we can in the normal course of business to ensure our residents and those working in Westchester County are safe. Common sense would say that a proposed expansion of a gas line that runs just outside of Indian Point Nuclear Power Plant through 2 seismic faults, through populated areas, carrying natural gas with a higher proportion of radon needs the greatest degree of due diligence. It is our duty and the mandate of the people of Westchester County to voice our concern and expectation that every agency charged with signing off on the proposed Spectra AIM expansion do their due diligence to ensure the health and public safety for those in Westchester. I would like to thank Legislator Peter Harcum for bringing this to my committee and raising such an important issue. I want to thank Legislator and Chair of Infrastructure Mary Jane Shimsky for helping to shepherd this resolution. And I would also like to thank Chairman Kaplowitz and Legislators Borgia, Testa, Marcotte, and Maisano for their collaboration and good work to make this resolution a statement that encompasses all our concerns. As the speakers so eloquently expressed earlier, we join with them and we ask for an independent health impact assessment, a New York State environmental quality review, the gold standard environmental protection, an independent risk assessment, and air emissions baseline assessment for all to be performed. And I ask for all Westchester County legislators to join with the members of Environment and Energy Committee to add their voice to this very important statement, advocating for the highest degree of due diligence to ensure public health and safety regarding Spectra Energy's Algonquin Incremental Market Natural Gas Pipeline. Thank you.
Very good. And Ms. Shimsky in Infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We are talking about a pipeline that will send hundreds of millions of gallons of natural gas on a regular basis within 1/3 of a mile of a nuclear power plant through residential neighborhoods and parks through the northern part of our county. This is clearly a situation where when we ask what can possibly go wrong, we really need not just to brush off the question like they do in TV shows and movies and watch as hilarity ensues, because the results of this can be much less than hilarious. We need to be able to look at it and determine what the various contingencies are and how we can do this safely without any risk of emissions health effects or without risks of catastrophic explosions. And as we all know from what's been going on in the recent past in this region, those kinds of explosions do happen. So when you ask what can possibly go wrong, a lot can possibly go wrong. That's why we need all the assessments that Legislator Parker cited, and I hope that we will be able to get them before this project moves through. Thank you.
Excellent. Legislators. Mr. Testa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to commend Chairwoman Parker as well. All sides were considered, all input was considered, and I think because of that and because of the open dialogue that took place on the committee level, we ended up with a much better resolution than we started with, more comprehensive. I think as someone who represents the area where the majority of this pipeline is going to be, if the project goes forward, where it's going to take place, and speaking with the residents in my district who are very, very concerned, as well as all of us, with the safety and well-being of our citizens, I think we put together a resolution that is very comprehensive, asking for all the safety concerns and precautions that need to be taken. So I'm happy to support it, and happy to work together moving forward to make sure, if the project does move forward, that it's done in a safe and very environmentally concerned way. Thank you.
Mr. Harkam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I join with my colleague, Mr. Testa, in congratulating both the chairs for a really good job, an inclusive job. This was good work by this body. It was comprehensive, it was inclusive, and you know, to some, watching us go about our business is sometimes akin to watching sausage being made. But at the end of the day, you get a good project. Would also like to thank many of the environmental advocates who also work tirelessly on this and continue to. This resolution is not about whether one is for or against the extraction of shale gas. It's not about blocking the pipeline, being pro or con pipeline. This is not about the easement through our county park, Blue Mountain, and Labor Parks Housing and Planning. We'll have hearings on that once the EIS is finished. This is really about going the extra mile to protect the health and the safety of Westchester residents. Now, we had some industry representatives before us, and we thank them for coming, because we do need all sides at the table. And they spoke about an exemplary safety record. However, this year alone, Spectra has had 2 accidents in Canada. In 2004, they had an explosion that burned for 7 days, burning 6 billion cubic feet of gas that were released into the atmosphere. Last week, 25 people were killed in a natural gas pipeline explosion in Taiwan. In March, 8 in New York City. In 2011, 5 in Allentown, Pennsylvania. In 2010, 8 people were killed in San Francisco. Every 9 days in this country, someone is either injured or killed by a natural gas explosion. So we need to be very, very cautious and proactive about the safety, the emergency preparedness. We heard one of the advocates speak about the costs being passed on to municipalities and our emergency first responders who are just simply not equipped to deal with a catastrophe on that magnitude, either from an equipment standpoint or from a budget standpoint. And also the health impacts. You know, we heard loud and clearly, and this resolution speaks to the need for an independent health assessment, independent air monitoring. You know, we know that radon and benzene and methane are all released from compressor stations. All have significant health impacts. We have reports documented of health ailments around compressor station. The Southeast compressor station is on the border of my district. So we're very, very concerned about the need for independent health assessment. So at the end of the day, this is, if I may borrow a phrase from you, Mr. Chair, this is about measuring twice and cutting once. And it's rare that we work on legislation that deals with life and death matters, but this truly does fall to the issue of public health and safety, and urge colleagues' support. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Thank you. Ms. Borgia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I echo the sentiments expressed by many of my colleagues here that this was an excellent process where we all learned quite a bit about the specifics of this project, some of the inherent risks, some of the environmental concerns. As the legislator who likewise represents the communities that will be very much impacted if this project were to move forward, I also have to rise and say that my constituencies have serious concerns about this project, and that was part of the reason why we felt it very important for us to state our opinion in the terms of this resolution. I also think that we need to look at things from a very big picture point of view. We know that it's important for our nation to maintain energy independence. We all are looking for economic development that comes with things like large infrastructure projects, but we have to look at things not only in the broadest possible picture for how it impacts us now, but well into the future. So I think that this process was a very good one. I thank all of my colleagues who added to it with their opinions and their research, and I think that it's a very it's a good understanding of our responsibility to make all of our concerns known, to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the generation living here now, and also the environmental needs of many, many subsequent future generations. So I applaud all who were involved in the creation of this resolution.
Excellent. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I stand in support of the resolution. While it's not the pipeline directly does not, I would say directly, does not impact my district. I dealt with this situation several years ago with another pipeline called the Millennium Pipeline when I was on the city council in Mount Vernon. And I know that the issues that are raised concerning safety, sometimes you hear a lot of arguments about profitability the pipeline companies make about profitability of the pipeline and how important it is to fulfill the energy needs. But when you balance that against the safety risk, the consequences of failure in relation to the profitability, there is no, the scale is clearly in favor of being very careful and being very diligent in approval process. These pipelines are approved. There's a statewide, there's state approval, but you also have the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, in Washington, D.C., that really signs off on a lot of these pipelines. And oftentimes, I mean, I've taken a busload of residents down to FERC during the time when we were opposing the Millennium Pipeline. One of the things you find out is that there are very few residents of the impacted areas at the meetings where these approvals are taking place, you know, in Washington, D.C. So oftentimes residents, the only way they get a chance to really express their concerns are through their local legislature, their local city councils, the local board of legislators such as this. So these voices that we hear have to be voices that we take very seriously, and I believe that by putting in place a strong resolution that sends a sense of this legislature, I think it's a great thing that we're doing. And I want to commend the Chairwoman Parker and all of the members of the Environmental Committee who has worked on making this possible. Thank you.
Excellent. Any other colleagues? At this point, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This resolution carries all the weight of a resolution. We heard testimony today from individuals who are very concerned and very knowledgeable and experienced in the area, who basically testified that they really don't want the pipeline in the area. This resolution here talks about standards of due diligence and safety. I think universally, I don't think anyone could disagree with that at all. I think that's apple pie and mom. That's universal. We want safe, and I think, well, you know, the people who are involved in the process, particularly those with the local experience in the area and those who will be doing the licensing and everything else, will do the right thing. And the corporation, Spectra Corporation, you know, no more wants a fault or explosion or a problem any more than any residents in the area do. I think we as government officials need to be conscious of what we're really looking to accomplish in these kind of circumstances. Sometimes we have seen, and I'm not saying it's a consequence necessarily of this board, but we've seen local governments put organizations, businesses, or homeowners through hoops in an effort of what is being labeled as due diligence, really raising the bar and raising their costs of operations where they have no intention of these things really going through. If the effort here is really to prevent the pipeline from going through, then let's be honest and say so up front. If this is a stalling mechanism, a mechanism to extend this out longer than is necessary, have an organization incur costs for something that they'll never be able to return on investment for, I think that's improper. And I think we as a legislature always need to be conscious of those kind of things, whether the true intent is really maintaining the due diligence as is said, which I hope it is, as opposed to a mechanism to delay and defer and incur additional costs for an organization which ultimately would not have the pipeline approved anyway. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I rise only because I think it's important that we recognize the fact that the first concern of the Algonquin people is not due diligence, but profitability. And those of us that live in the Hudson Valley have to remain diligent. And I think that this legislature, my colleagues, Ms. Shimsky and Ms. Parker, have done an excellent job in their committees and the committee work to make sure that we can properly assess the dangers and the mishaps that may occur because of this pipeline. So unlike Mr. Smith, I don't feel that this is a delaying tactic. I think this is a very necessary and important tactic, and that it protects all of us that live in the Hudson Valley. Thank you.
Boykin.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to congratulate Legislator Parker and the others who worked on this. I think it has developed, and also I think we have a nice resolution here that really protects the due diligence and really does the risk assessment, because that's really what this is about. I heard from individuals in my district, and I met with several of them in my district. Also, when we were having hearings on this, I sent the information to those individuals that contacted me to let them know when the hearings were being held so that they could be here and listen and see the debate that took place in committee. So I'll be supporting this because I think we've come together and put together a resolution that will provide the due diligence and the risk assessment that is needed for this pipeline. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Any other colleagues? All righty. Seeing none at this point, let's take a long roll call on this item.
Ms. Borgia.
Yes.
Mr. Testa.
Yes.
Mr. Boykin.
Yes.
Mr. Burrows.
Yes.
Mr. Gelfarb.
Aye.
Mr. Harkam.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Mazzano.
Yes.
Ms. Marcotte. Ms. Parker.
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Ms. Shimsky.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
No.
Ms. Spreckman.
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Approved 15-1.
Excellent. I want to accelerate two other items. Item number 30 and 31, page 17, ID 7340 and item 7341. Two appointments with Mr. Ryan here, and appreciate his attendance again. We have two items on appointments for the Westchester County Healthcare Corporation.
Item 7340 from the Committee on Appointments is an act reappointing Renee Garrick, M.D. as a voting director to the Governing Board of the Westchester County Healthcare Corporation for a term to expire on April 27, 2019.
Mr. Boykin on the side.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So move this reappointment.
Excellent. Colleagues, any thoughts, comments on this? Otherwise, we can take the previous long roll call. We cannot? Okay. No, that was just a test. We cannot take the previous long roll call. Long roll call, please.
Ms. Borgia.
Yes.
Mr. Testa.
Yes.
Mr. Boykin.
Yes.
Mr. Burrows.
Yes.
Mr. Gelfarb.
Aye.
Mr. Harkam.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Mazzano.
Yes.
Ms. Marcotte. Ms. Parker. Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Ms. Shimsky.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Spreckman. Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Approved 16-0. Item 7341 from the Committee on Appointments is an act reappointing Herman Geist as a voting director to the Governing Board of the Westchester County Healthcare Corporation for a term to expire on April 27, 2019.
Mr. Boykin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I move this, I'd just like to say that these are reappointments that come through the chair of the board, and I'm pleased to move this item. Thank you.
Ms. Shimsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say, in my experience with the medical center and with Westchester County, I don't think there is anyone who is not on the paid staff of the medical center who, over the course of many years, has shown more dedication, more concern and put in more quality thinking about ensuring the future of this institution than Mr. Geist, and I'll be proud to vote for his reappointment today.
Legislators, any other comments, thoughts? Seeing none, I too just want to echo that for both Dr. Garrick and for Mr. Geist specifically. Their efforts on behalf of that institution have been and undoubtedly will continue to be exemplary. I want to thank Mr. Ryan and the full Healthcare Corporation for their efforts continuing health excellence in the Hudson Valley, and Mr. Ryan particularly for helping us shepherd through working with the administration and Mr. Boykin and this full legislature a process whereby we can appropriately and properly make sure that the board is full garrisoned and fully legal and buttoned up and in a position to continue to face the challenges that institution and the industry does undoubtedly face on a daily basis. So, Mr. Boykin, thank you, sir, for your committee's continued good work and in this area. Looking forward to continue to coordinate our efforts to make sure that all past appointments and future appointments and reappointments, for that matter, are done absolutely correctly. So, Madam Clerk, on item 31, may we take a previous long roll call? Without objection, so ordered. Thank you.
Approved 16-0. Brings us back to item 6946 from the Committees on Infrastructure and Environment and Energy, and act authorizing the approval of the Stormwater Reconnaissance Plan for the coastal Long Island Sound dated August 2013, prepared by the County Commissioner of Planning and Compliance with the Article 3-A County Stormwater Management Law.
Ms. Shimsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the third of 6 stormwater reconnaissance plans for our county watersheds. Ms. Parker, who, as chair of E&E, has also helped shepherd this through, will be able to talk specifically about what this means for coastal Long Island Sound. But in order to make the record complete, I'm going to go through the basic general principles which govern these reconnaissance plans and the purpose to which they're supposed to be placed. The purpose is to identify flood-prone areas in each individual watershed that will hopefully provide funding opportunities through the county. At this point, we have a pot of $15 million, which hopefully will continue to grow over the years, in funding to help municipalities fund stormwater remediation projects. There has been a lot of interest expressed by municipalities throughout the county, including representatives in this watershed from the town of Mamaroneck and the city of New Rochelle, who attended the Joint Infrastructure and Environment and Energy Committee meeting at which this was discussed. The process is the same as for all of the other watersheds. The first prerequisite to qualify for funds is to identify the flood-prone area and have it included in the reconnaissance plan. Just because an area is listed as low risk or medium risk does not disqualify it for funding at this point, but it must be included as a flood-prone area. Our planning department is reaching out to municipalities with regard to the watersheds whose reconnaissance plans we've already approved. After we vote here, they will be reaching out to the coastal Long Island Sound municipalities as well. Planning will work with the municipalities in quantifying the risk and crafting a project and plan that will help remediate the identified problem. Adding flood-prone areas is provided for after we go through and approve all 6 plans. Sometime in the fall, the planning department will solicit each of the municipalities in the county for more flood-prone areas that need to be added to their respective reconnaissance plans, so that way no flood-prone area will be left out. And then annually, the planning department will do likewise, so that way we'll always have an up-to-date list. Conversations have begun in other watersheds in terms of identifying projects for which there may be county funding. And as the other plans provide, the county as a whole needs proper stream and storm gauge systems so we can properly model the effect of flood remediation plans. And so we have a sense as to what trends are taking place in terms of our stormwater issues. Since we don't have those in place now, and I am hoping that in future months, maybe in next year's capital budget, we will have some money provided to design such a plan, such a system, which we used to have, but that was one of the things that was let go in the name probably of fiscal common sense somewhere a number of years ago. Now we realize we do need it, especially with the increased stormwater problems we're having. But at this point, until we get that modeling where we need it to be, projects that are designed to hold water back as opposed to pushing the water somewhere else are liable to be more sympathetic to our planning department than projects that merely push water to somewhere else. So with that being said, my comments will equally apply to number 33 on our agenda, so you won't have to hear them all twice, I promise. I'll now turn it over to the Chair of Environment and Energy, Catherine Parker, who represents many of the communities in this watershed, and I'm sure she'd like to tell us exactly how much this means to them.
Ms. Parker.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Legislator Shimsky for the wonderful, thorough job that she has been doing with these stormwater reconnaissance plans. I think really she's just been exemplary as far as a chairperson of a committee. There's no question that the Long Island Sound Stormwater Reconnaissance Plan is probably one of the most critical things that we as legislators can pass for the Sound Shore communities. And this, by the way, doesn't even take into account anything related to coastal flooding. This is all flooding that's related to upstream development, climate change, severe storms, and the project list that we have currently, given the response from the municipalities on their questionnaire, equals over almost 150 different projects. So there, again, is really no question that this is something that our Sound Shore communities are looking for help. And this will start, as Legislator Shimsky mentioned, this will start the ability for the communities to come to us with their projects and look for funding, which is the next step that I'm looking forward to helping see through. So with that, I will turn it back to you.
Excellent. Colleagues, on this item before us, seeing none, let's do, actually, we can take the previous long roll call. So without objection, so ordered. And let's take out of order then, if we could, since that's been the spirit of the morning, item 34 on page 18, which is a companion in many ways, then, as mentioned by Ms. Shimsky. That's the stormwater recon plan for Peekskill and Haverstraw Bays. So if colleagues could look at page 18, number 34, ID number 6945.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This plan,
Clerk will just introduce it for
Oh.
From the Committees on Infrastructure and Environment and Energy, an act authorizing the approval of the Stormwater Reconnaissance Plan for the Peekskill and Haverstraw Bays dated March 2014, prepared by the County Commissioner of Planning in compliance with Article 3A, County Stormwater Management Law.
Ms. Shimsky.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This watershed, the Peekskill-Haverstraw Bay watershed, encompasses part or all of the city of Peekskill and the towns of Cortland and Yorktown. As previously discussed, the process and priorities are the same as for all of the other watersheds. and a complete explanation was done for the last item on our calendar. So as previously discussed, so moved.
Excellent. And Ms. Parker?
Oops, I concur.
Okay, excellent. Colleagues, questions, thoughts, comments? Otherwise, we'll take the previous long roll call, and so ordered.
Approved 16-0. Takes us back to number 3, ID number 6967. Resolution reappointing Ronald Kunzman as a member of the Westchester County Council for Seniors for the term January 1, 2014 to December 31, 2015.
Mr. Boykin?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, colleagues, any questions, thoughts? Otherwise, we'll take the previous long roll call, and so ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 6971 from the Committee on Appointments is a resolution appointing Janet Fisher as a member of the Westchester County Domestic Violence Council for the term August 4, 2014 to December 31, 2016.
Mr. Boykin?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Colleagues, questions, thoughts, comments? Otherwise, we'll take the previous long roll call, so ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 6975 from the Committee on Appointments, resolution appointing Yvonne Borowski-Weckstein Esquire as an at-large member of the Westchester County Domestic Violence Council for the term August 4, 2014 to December 31, 2016.
Mr. Boykin?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Colleagues, any comments, questions, thoughts? Otherwise, we'll take the previous long roll call, so ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 7183 from the Committee on Appointments is a resolution appointing...
Over,
Mr. Boykin. Item 7184 from the Committee on Appointments is a resolution appointing Eric DiBartolo as a member of the Westchester County Traffic Safety Board for the term August 4, 2014 to December 31, 2015.
Mr. Boykin?
so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Colleagues, any questions, thoughts? Otherwise, we'll take the previous long roll call, so ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 7218 from the Committees on Budget Appropriations and Seniors and Constituencies, an act authorizing the county to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the Village of Tarrytown for the purpose of operating the Tarrytown Sleepy Hollow Summer Day Camp in the amount of $42,600.
Ms. Markup?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to move this for the Budget and Appropriations Committee. This was discussed at the budget. The money was previously put in the budget, and I will turn this over to my colleague Bernice Breckman.
Ms. Breckman?
Agree with her, so moved, and very happy that we are putting this money away for these kids. Thank you.
Excellent. Colleagues, Ms. Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thank Mrs. Breckman for shepherding this legislation, this IMA, through the committee, and just want to say that this is a very meaningful program. It will provide youngsters from approximately the age of 3 to 12 with recreational and educational activities. The program started July 1 and will be ending on August 9th. It provides arts and crafts, theater, games, swimming, and all of these
Can't ask me to over the-
truly necessary for our youngsters
Ken.
to have a full range of activities during the summer months. So moved.
Excellent. Colleagues, any additional comments, questions, thoughts? Otherwise, we'll take the previous long roll call. Without objection, so ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 7219 from the Committees on Infrastructure, Budget Appropriations, and Economic Development and Capital Projects, an amended bond act authorizing the issuance of up to $2,400,000 in bonds of the county to finance capital project RB 142, South Division Street, Crampon Road, CR 24, Peekskill.
Ms. Markup?
For budget, so moved. I'll turn it over to Economic Development.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you. This is a amended bond act that already includes $240,000 of previously authorized bonds. This is for the construction and construction management of approximately 1.38 miles in South Division Street in the city of Peekskill. The road pavement condition currently is 55, and the road has been assumed to continue to deteriorate. With that, we move it on to infrastructure.
Shimsky.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Design on this road is approaching 90%. And I bring that up specifically because I thank the administration for providing us this morning with their cost breakdowns for each of the 5 road projects that we'll be discussing, items 9, 10, and 12 through 14. I do want to express my concern that none of these estimates include engineer's estimate of unit pricing. We have items that need to be purchased, supplies and so on, and the quantity, but we don't have any estimates of unit pricing. Obviously, the better job we could do, the more precisely we could pin that stuff down, reduces the need for capital budget amendments and makes for better capital planning all around when you have more accuracy in the course of the hundreds of capital projects we have going at any one time. I think measure twice and cut once is a pretty good theme for much of what we're talking about today, and that applies for these projects as well. This road obviously needs repairing. It's a well-used road. The daily traffic count is over 11,000, but as I said, more precision in our estimates would be a very good thing. I just wanted to place that on the record. So with that caveat, so moved.
Excellent. Colleagues, on this item, we'll take the previous long roll call without objection. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 7220 from the Committees on Infrastructure, Budget Appropriations, and Economic Development and Capital Projects, and amended Bond Act authorizing the issuance up to $400,000 in bonds of the county to finance capital project RB 111 North Division Street, Peekskill.
And Ms. Marcotte.
Thank you. So moved for budget, and I'll turn it over to my colleague.
Smith.
Thank you. This is amended capital budget amendment. It's been a long day, a long morning. A capital budget amendment that includes $35,000 of previously authorized bonds. This is for 0.31 miles on North Division Street in the city of Peekskill. This will be coordinated from a construction process with the previous item that we just passed. The road condition is a 66, and again, the road has continued to deteriorate. With that, we move it on to infrastructure.
Would not ask you to say CDBG this morning. Ms. Shimsky.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This, as Legislator Smith pointed out, is the companion piece to the prior bond, North Division Street, which apparently is a continuation of South Division Street, Mr. Testa. Daily traffic count is actually slightly higher on this one. The PCI is somewhat higher than on South Division Street, but it's still well within the usual range of when we start considering road repairs. And since we're doing South Division Street as well, it makes sense to do it all at the same time. So operationally speaking, as Chair of Infrastructure, I feel comfortable in moving this today.
Excellent. Colleagues, Mr. Testa.
Yes, thank you. Since it was mentioned, this isn't my district, and it's important to note that in the northern part of the county, there are only 2 ways to go east and west in Westchester, and that's through Peekskill, and we fixed one of those roads a couple years ago, Main Street. This is the other one. That's a parallel road. And the South Division Street part is a continuation of a state project, actually through the town of Cortland in front of the hospital. So as bad as this road is, once you got off the new paved state road and hit this road, it was magnified on how bad this road was or is. And then it continues into the North Division Street part, which is really in the downtown part of Peekskill. So this is a very important project. It's been begged for a number of years, and the design was done a few years ago. I'm so happy, and I appreciate the support on getting this project through. Thank you.
Excellent. Any other colleagues? Take the previous long roll call without objection. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 7227 from the Committees on Budget and Appropriations and Seniors and Constituencies, an act authorizing the county to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with Mount Vernon, pursuant to which the city, through its Youth Bureau, will provide a positive youth development program for the period April 1, 2014 through March 31, 2015, for an amount not to exceed $174,000.
Ms. Markup.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll move this for a budget and turn it over to seniors and constituencies.
Okay. Again, it's an intermunicipal agreement between the county and the city of Mount Vernon, acting by and through the Youth Bureau, whereby the county will provide funding to the city to support 3 Mount Vernon Youth Bureau programs from April the 1st, 2014 to March the 31st, 2015. 1, the Safe Haven Summer Camp, After School, and Saturday program. 2, the Youth Empowerment program. 3, the Step Up program. These are existing programs which have previously received funding from the Westchester County Youth Bureau through the Urban Youth Initiatives Invest in Kids program. These programs will promote positive and youth development for approximately 230 at-risk youth through academic, enrichment, social, recreational, and violence prevention activities, employment readiness, training, and job placement during after-school and summer hours. And I really am happy that they're getting the money to continue this.
Excellent. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to, first of all, let me thank my colleagues for the committee work in forwarding these programs. These programs, as Legislator Spreckman indicated, are very much needed programs for at-risk youth in Mount Vernon. The young people who participate in these programs are directly focused on moving forward with college and other opportunities to really better their lives. And I think that it is great that the county has focused on these programs. The programs is a substitute for the Invest in Kids because the Mount Vernon Youth Bureau does not receive funding under the Invest in Kids program. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. I want to, first of all, colleagues, any additional questions, comments? First, I want to thank the chairs of the committees, but I want to thank Bernice, Ms. Freckman, and Mr. Williams in representing their community as ably as you do in delivering this very, very important youth development program and monies. At this point, we'll take a long roll call vote.
Ms. Borgia.
Yes.
Mr. Testa. Mr. Boykin.
Yes.
Mr. Burrows. Yes. Mr. Gelfarb.
Aye.
Mr. Harkam.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Mazzano.
Yes.
Ms. Marcotte.
Aye.
Ms. Parker.
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Ms. Shimsky.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Spreckman.
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye. And Mr. Testa.
John, you want to be recorded? Yeah.
Approved 16-0. Item 7230 from the Committees on Infrastructure, Budget and Appropriations, and Economic Development and Capital Projects, a bond act authorizing the issuance of $990,000 in bonds of the county to finance capital project RB 122, Westlake Drive, Mount Pleasant.
Ms. Markup.
So moved for budget, and I'll turn it over to economic development.
Smith.
Thank you. This will fund the design, construction management, construction of 0.74 miles on Westlake Drive in Mount Pleasant. It is currently rated at a 57, a road condition index, and it's estimated that it'll take approximately 5 months after construction to begin construction using in-house staff. Thank you.
Excellent. Ms. Shimsky.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As noted by Legislator Smith, this is a road well within the range of what we normally schedule for road repairs with a PCI of 57. This is an in-house design which is scheduled to take 6 months. We have a lot of in-house design at this point and a certain amount of backlog. With layoffs over the course of the past several years, we have more work than we have staff, it seems. So this is one of those projects where we may be periodically asking to ensure that things are progressing, and at some point we are going to have to deal with those backlogs in the budget process. So moved.
Excellent. Colleagues on this item? I get it. This is a test. We'll take the long roll call vote.
Ms. Borgia?
Yes.
Mr. Testa?
Yes.
Mr. Boykin?
Yes.
Mr. Burrows?
Yes.
Mr. Gelfarb?
Aye.
Mr. Harkam?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins? Mr. Mazzano? Yes. Ms. Marcotte? Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Ms. Shimsky?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Spreckman?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Aye.
Approved 16-0. Item 7232 from the Committees on Infrastructure, Budget Appropriations, and Economic Development and Capital Projects, a bond act authorizing the issuance of up to $410,000 in bonds of the county to finance capital project RB 139, Tuckahoe Road, Yonkers.
Ms. Markup.
So moved for budget, and I'll turn it over to economic development.
Smith.
Thank you. This will fund the design, construction management, and construction of approximately 0.17 miles on Tuckahoe Road. The PCI for the road is 64 and continues to deteriorate. With that, we move to infrastructure.
Ms. Shimsky.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Anyone who lives in the southern half of Westchester County knows that Tuckahoe Road is a rather heavily traveled thoroughfare. The daily traffic count of this particular stretch of road is over 12,000. Any minor blip in the condition of the road can end up contributing to major traffic jams in this part of the world. In addition, it's important to move forward at this point. There will be new bus pads and handicap ramps installed as part of this project. And anything that encourages mass transit and makes mobility easier for those who are mobility challenged is something that is very important for the county, for the various members of our community who do have physical challenges in mobility, and as well, by encouraging public transportation, it will help us with our complete streets goals and the legislation that we passed last year. So I'm happy to move this forward from infrastructure.
Colleagues, on the item before us? Seeing none, take the previous long roll call without objection. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 7234 from the Committees on Infrastructure, Budget and Appropriations, and Economic Development and Capital Projects, a bond act authorizing the issuance of up to $2,200,000 in bonds of the county to finance capital project RB 140, Bloomer Road, North Salem.
Ms. Markup.
So moved for budget.
Smith.
This bond item will fund the design, construction management, construction on Bloomer Road, approximately 1.37 miles. The PCI on this particular road is 62, and the roadway has continued to deteriorate. With that, we move it on to infrastructure.
Ms. Shimsky.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This particular road, in addition to doing a basic repair of the roadbed, also includes the construction of traffic islands at Route 121. It's a very wide area of road, can present traffic safety issues, both for vehicles and especially for pedestrians in the area. Once again, this is a way for us to begin to take small steps toward implementing our complete streets policy. And on that basis, infrastructure is delighted to vote it out. Thank you.
Excellent. Colleagues, any further comment on it? Otherwise, we'll take the previous long roll call without objection. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 7265 from the Committees on Legislation and Economic Development and Capital Projects, a local law amending Section 167.51 of the laws of Westchester County in relation to the factors to be considered by the Capital Projects Committee in evaluating the feasibility of proposed capital projects.
Ms. Perez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This was actually a recommendation by the Charter Revision Commission, and it was fully discussed in committee. During the committee meeting, the members agreed with the Charter Revision Commission's conclusion that the that the consideration for the foregoing factors evaluating the feasibilities of capital projects is a prudent measure in light of the threats posed by extreme weather events and the potential for occurrence of natural disasters. So move, Mrs. Chair.
Excellent.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Smith, Economic Development Capital District.
Thank you. Just like to echo what Legislator Perez just said, also to add my thanks to the Charter Revision Commission, Commissioner Wishney and Burrows for their fine work on this and first of what we expect to be multiple charter revision items to be passing through. So thank you on behalf of our committee for the fine work that they did.
Excellent. Colleagues, on this, Ms. Shimsky.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As we plan our future capital budgets, it's important to do it wisely with the limited resources we have, and obviously questions as to how these projects are going to withstand future extreme weather events and how they might be better, how we might select projects so that we do forward sustainability goals with energy conservation and other issues are very, very important questions to ensure that our infrastructure be maintained in the best cost-effective way possible. And I personally, as Chair of Infrastructure, would like to thank the Charter Revision Committee for working on this and coming up with this really great idea. I think it's going to be very useful, and I do hope that the administration will put it to good use. Thank you.
Excellent. Colleagues, I want to welcome and thank once again Mr. Wishney, who is with us today. Richard Wishney, former colleague, and always welcome back, but we ever actually let him out. I think he continues to participate to the benefit of the people of Westchester, and in conjunction with the fine work that Mr. Burrows is doing as co-chairs of the committee, the task force that is reviewing the charter recommendations. To Mr. Smith's earlier comment, this is number 2 that we have considered. Of the 16, it was elevated by the Commission to something that needs to be debated and acted upon, and certainly we have that opportunity today. It risks perhaps its being mundane in its wording, but in its effect, as Ms. Shimsky alluded to, it really does play to planning on a proactive basis going forward. Sustainability is quite important and arguably one of the most important considerations. So to the Charter Commission and our task force, thank you to both. To Mr. Zuckerman for helping shepherd through some of these as well. And there are more to come, and I know that we're trying to put these on a kind of conveyor belt of full consideration, but nonetheless, we owe it to, and I think this board certainly has been participatory in a appropriate process of reviewing these very, very good recommendations, and I'm hopeful that, I know that all will be considered, and I'm hopeful that a number of them will be enacted. But this is number 2 on that scorecard. So at this point, what's that? 16 to go. 16 to go, okay. So any other comments, questions, thoughts at this point? Otherwise, we'll take the previous long roll call. Without objection, so ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 7267 from the Committees on Budget Appropriations and Seniors and Constituencies, an act authorizing the county to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the City of Mount Vernon pursuant to which the city will provide a summer basketball program for the period July 7, 2014 through August 29, 2014, for a total amount not to exceed $20,000.
Ms. Barker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to move this for budget, and I will turn it over to seniors and constituencies.
Yeah, so moved, and I'd like to turn this over to Lyndon Williams to speak about the basketball program.
Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank the committees on Budget and Appropriations and the Committee on Seniors and Constituencies. This program is a program that uses basketball as a means of focusing young people in the right direction. It is a countywide program that really kind of bring together young people from different parts of the county. It is hosted in Mount Vernon, but you have young men from Eastchester, from even from Yorktown that come on down to Mount Vernon. And the program is not, while basketball is the drawing card for it, it focuses on, they're able to also listen to motivational speakers that kind of help young people to make decisions, life decisions. And so I was impressed by the program. You've heard Coach Semino, who has been here before and talked about it, and I think it's a very good program. It's also a program that helps young people from different parts of the county to interrelate using sports as a vehicle. Thank you.
Excellent. Colleagues, to this item, once again, congratulations and thanks to Ms. Spreckman and Mr. Williams for ably representing their community, and a good thing for all of us here in Westchester County. Without any further comment, we'll take a previous long roll call without objection. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 7314 from the Committees on Budget and Appropriations and Community Services, an act recommending a pay plan amendment in the Health Department and Medical Examiner's Office.
Recommit.
Okay, recommitted to the Community Services Committee.
Item 7316 from the Committees on Infrastructure, Budget and Appropriations and Economic...
Over.
Over, Ms. Shimsky. Item 7317 from the Committees on Labor, Parks, Planning and Housing, Budget and Appropriations and Economic Development and Capital Projects, a bond act authorizing the issuance of $210,000 in bonds of the county to finance capital project RGE03, George's Island site work.
Ms. Markup.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will move this for the Budget Committee and turn it over to Economic Development.
Mr. Smith.
As discussed and approved in Economic Development, we move this on to Labor, Parks, and Planning.
Mr. Harkam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is funding for design to redo the playground, the picnic areas, as well as accompanying landscape and stormwater management. So moved.
Excellent. Colleagues, we'll take the previous long roll call without objection. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 7320 from the Committees on Budget and Appropriations and Community Services, an act authorizing Westchester County Healthcare Corporation to provide medical case management and oral health care services for Westchester, Rockland, and Putnam County residents with HIV/AIDS.
Ms. Markup.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was discussed in the Budget and Appropriations Committee, and I will move it and turn it over to Alfreda Williams for her committee.
Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an act which provides services, medical and dental services to patients with HIV/AIDS. It's the Treatment Extension Act, and it's been conducted by the county since 1998 and provides for monies that come through the City of New York as part of the Ryan White's HIV/AIDS legislation. As I say, it provides treatment for patients who reside not only in Westchester County, but in the county of Rockland as well. So moved, Mr. Chair.
Colleagues, any comment? Otherwise, we'll take the previous long roll call without objection. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 7321 from the Committees on Labor, Parks, Planning and Housing, Budget and Appropriations, and Economic Development and Capital Projects. A bond act authorizing the county to issue bonds in the amount of $250,000 for capital project RMAC3 Macy Park site work.
Ms. Markup.
So moved for Budget, and I'll turn it over to Economic Development.
Mr. Smith.
As discussed and approved in Economic Development, we move this on to Labor and Parks.
Mr. Harkam.
Thank you, Chairman Smith. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a small project. It's for both design and construction, again, of a picnic area, the ancillary facilities, playground, and stormwater management. So moved.
Ms. Shimsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Macy Park is in my district. This is a picnic area and a playground that's very heavily used and well-loved, and it has not had repairs in well over 15 years. To put that in perspective, there are actually people who played on that playground who are interning in this office. So we definitely it definitely needs the TLC at this point, and I thank my colleagues in advance for their support.
Very good. Colleagues, any other comments? Otherwise, we'll take the previous long roll call without objection. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 7322 from the Committees on Labor, Parks, Planning and Housing, Budget and Appropriations, and Economic Development and Capital Projects. A bond act authorizing the issuance of $200,000 in bonds of the county to finance capital project RGMM1 Maplemore Buildings.
Ms. Markup.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy to approve this much-needed design work for Maplemore, and I'll turn it over to Economic Development.
Smith, as discussed and approved in Economic Development, we move this on to Labor and Parks.
And Mr. Harcum.
Thank you, Chairman Smith. Thank you, Mr. Chair. As Chairwoman Marcotte mentioned, this is for design only. This is part of the master plan for Maplemore to make the flow, to improve the flow of the golf experience. This board has already approved funding for a new maintenance shed, so the maintenance vehicles will be moved from near the first hole. That will be designed and reconstructed to house the golf carts. So people's first experience, the first hole, will not be maintenance vehicles, but the carts that they will rent to then take out on the course. So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anything that moves the flow of experience of golfing is something I certainly support. And it's been said that I will be hitting this building no matter where you site it. So good luck in its position. With that said, colleagues, any comment, thoughts? Seeing none, we'll take the previous long roll call. Without objection, so ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 7323 from the...
Over.
Over, Ms. Shimsky. Item 7324 from...
Over.
My understanding is just FYI, on these overings, we're waiting for some additional information.
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Chairman. It does not reflect an opinion on the overall merits of the project.
Item 7325.
Over.
Over, Ms. Shimsky. Item 7330.
Over.
Over, Ms. Shimsky. Item 7318.
Over.
Over, Ms. Shimsky. Item 7319.
Over.
Over, Ms. Shimsky.
And thus concludes the overing for the day. You want me to over a few more, John?
Item 7339 from the Committee on Appointments is a resolution to reappoint Cynthia Chazot, MD of Tarrytown, New York, as a physician member, Robert Baker, MD of New Rochelle, as a physician member, Peter Liebert, MD of Harrison, New York, as a physician member, and James Carnicelli of Scarsdale as an at-large member of the Westchester County Board of Health for a term to expire on December 31st, 2018.
Mr. Boykin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So moved.
Colleagues on these, and again, thanks to these individuals for serving. Without objection, we'll take the previous long roll call. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Takes us to number 32, ID number 7342, from the Committees on Legislation and Budget and Appropriations, a resolution to set a public hearing on a local law amending subdivision 1 of section 167.61 of the laws of Westchester County to require the county executive to submit and file a proposed county budget for capital purposes not later than October 15th of each year, and to submit and file proposed county budget for current purposes not later than November 10th of each year.
This is for a public hearing set purposes and number 3 in the queue. And again, thanks to Mr. Burrows, Mr. Wishney, Mr. Zuckerman, and all colleagues for consideration. Ms. Perez, you're setting the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to set this public hearing for September 8th at 7:30 p.m.
And Ms. Markup.
We agree.
Okay, concur. Colleagues, comments on? Otherwise, we'll take the previous long roll call. Without objection, so ordered.
Approved 16-0. Takes us to special orders. Item 7333 submitted by the Chairman of the Board and the Committees on Infrastructure, Environment and Energy, and Legislation. Setting a public hearing on a local law amending subdivision 8 of Section 836.42 of the laws of Westchester County to limit the circumstances under which vehicles, which are not high mileage vehicles, electric vehicles, hybrid vehicles, or alternative fuel vehicles may be purchased by the County of Westchester.
Chairman of the Board submitted, so I will request the public hearing be the same aforementioned September 8th at 7:30 p.m. In order, Ms. Perez, concur?
I concur.
Okay, and we have Mr. Smith. Strike. Ms. Shimsky, give me. Ms. Shimsky.
I concur as well.
I concur.
And we'll take the previous long roll call. Without objection, so ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 7143, submitted by the Chairman of the Board, a resolution to set a public hearing on capital project WD-103, County Water District Number 1, alternate water supply, which represents an increase and improvements of district facilities.
Here too, requesting public hearing be set for September 8th at 7:30 p.m. Colleagues, any questions, thoughts on this one? Comments? Otherwise, we'll take the previous long roll call. Without objection, so ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 7382, submitted by the Chairman of the Board, an act amending the 2014 County Capital Budget Appropriation for Capital Project RB 169 Bridge and Road Urgent Rehab Program 2014 through 2018.
These two I put on a special order. It's this one and its companion item, the Bond Act revised RB 169 Bond Act itself, 7383 ID, number 4 on the subsequent page. It's before us. There has been quite a bit of discussion on this item. I want to thank all colleagues. I want to thank certainly the infrastructure chair. I want to thank the budget chair, Mr. Smith, in capital projects, and all colleagues, to our two leaders, Ms. Borgia, Mr. Testa, and once again to all 17, recognizing the importance of these bridge and road urgent rehabilitation items. We recognize that sometimes in government we need to be a little flexible. There's certainly pothole work that needs to be done at times. You take the shovels, and our good people in DPW go out and do pothole work. At the same time, there's necessity at times for the full-blown capital budget amendment and capital budget item that necessitates the complete project, complete from beginning to end of a road. We had quite a bit of damage this past season and want to get to these roads before, in fact, the next season occurs through the good works of our requisite chairs, aforementioned, and all legislators, and in conjunction with the administration. We have a schedule of 25 roads that has been added to with an additional 15 roads based on necessity, and we are looking forward to working together with the administration, the executive and legislative branches, to hear back from our DPW staff doing internal work as to the design of those 40 roads, and then we together, the legislature, will work through our committee structure to compromise on the 40 roads. If in fact there's not enough money, we will have to set up a process of triage, but it'll be the best of a legislative process, and this legislature, as it has shown itself today in moving these two items forward, is more than up to the task of making sure, bottom line, that for health and safety purposes, the roads of Westchester County, as owned by the County of Westchester and the people of Westchester, will be in the best possible shape for the upcoming winter. So I thank all colleagues for the due diligence. Also, I thank the administration for their cooperation, and substantively thank bond counsel and law for their good work. And again, to the substantive side, the recognition that, as Ms. Borgia had said so ably, that you can get yourself in trouble like New York City did many years ago when you do some shorter-term projects but pay for them over the long term. Long after the benefit of the short-term project has worn away, you're still paying for that long-term bonding. Here, we're going to match, on a PPU basis, the period of time that we pay these bonds, that is to wit 5 years, for the purpose of hoping and expecting that we get 5 years, and hopefully more, of course, but at least 5 years of benefit from those roads. So with that said, we have the item before us, and I'd certainly open the floor to colleagues for any questions or thoughts at this particular point. Ms. Shimsky.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As you have previously ably discussed, the reason for this bond, to no small extent, was the fact that the last winter was a really bad winter. And as we know, when we drive through the roads wherever we go, our roads are no better than anyone else's, nor are they appreciably worse as far as I could tell, but it's up to us to take care of our things. One subject I want to bring up, though, is in the Commissioner of Public Works multiple discussions on this, because we spent a number of meetings doing due diligence on this item. Much of the reason was the bad winter, but the bad winter merely aggravated situations on roads where we had a backlog that were really in need of repair for some time. So it's important for us as we go forward to be mindful that we do need to keep our roads in repair and stick with a capital program in which we make sure we reach a certain number of miles of road per year. We need to calculate that figure now, and in future years essentially use that as a benchmark against all future capital budgets. The second subject I wanted to bring up is what is being done with this bond is not pothole work, it's milling and paving, which is more appropriate for capital funding, but we're talking about fairly select sections of roads that do need more extensive repair. And because we ended up in a situation where we had a long list of roads that needed TLC sooner rather than later, we needed to resort to a bond like this. But certainly in terms of long-term policy, this kind of plan should not be a recurring one. This is a special situation with a special confluence of circumstances. But what we should be planning to do is make sure we aggressively maintain a schedule of more extensive road repairs, and that obviates much of the problem that we find ourselves resolving here. And certainly in terms of the PPU, a 15-year repayment period really would have kicked the can down the road in a way which would not have been either operationally or fiscally responsible. And I'm glad that the administration worked with us on reducing the repayment period to 5 years. Thank you.
Excellent. Colleagues, on this item, again, thanks to all. We will take the previous long roll call. If without objection, so ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 7383, submitted by the Chairman of the Board, is a bond act authorizing the issuance of $5 million in bonds of the county to finance capital project RB 169, Bridge and Road Urgent Rehab Program 2014 through 2018.
So moved. Any comments, legislators? Without objection, we'll take the previous long roll call. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Motions, resolutions, call of the districts.
Colleagues, Mr. Testa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to add 3 names to the memorial resolutions, please. Jacqueline L. Quinn, Juanita Overton, and Helen A. Straub. Thank you.
Colleagues? Worship?
Yeah. I just want to remind my colleagues that this Thursday, August 7th, is actually Purple Heart Day, and thanks to the good work of Legislator Tester, we are a Purple Heart County, and I hope that everyone can remember that in their communications to their constituents and in their lives as well. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to join with Legislator Frida Williams on Bubero Myers.
Okay, colleagues, Ms. Williams.
I certainly can accept that, and I'd also like to add Mr. Jenkins, Legislator Ken Jenkins' name to that memorial resolution as well.
Okay. Colleague? Mr. Smith. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have three names I'd like to add to the memorial resolutions for this afternoon. Harvey M. Kelsey Jr., Carolyn Mancini.
Exactly, colleagues. Two names I'd like to add. One is Zara Jackson of Somers. Too bad most of you, all of you didn't get to meet Zara, but a real spark plug, and they're just a wonderful lady in the community. And then perhaps all legislators want to join me on Maurice Murray Toulis, the father of Mark Toulis, who passed away.
Oh,
Yes, please.
Toulis to them. Okay, all legislators there. Any other legislators? Otherwise, under motions, resolution, Polo District, want to please stand for a moment of silence? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn this meeting to reconvene at our regularly scheduled time of September 8th, 2014 at 7 p.m.
Testa. Roll call.
Ms. Borgia? Yes. Mr. Testa?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzano? Yes. Mr. Chairman?
Aye. We're adjourned. Good job, guys. Good luck. Couldn't be worse. Yeah. Oh my.